Picture this. It is a Friday. I am almost done with a video, one last push, and it ships. And Claude just stops me. Not a glitch, a wall. I had hit my usage limit, and not one limit, two at the very same time. My 5-hour limit and my weekly limit both gone at once. The reset was not until Sunday morning. So the video I was one push away from finishing went out 2 days late. It was, to put it mildly, frustrating.
Two limits at the very same moment. And that is the first thing to understand here. Claude does not have one limit, it has two. This whole video is about seeing both of them coming, so a Friday like that one never happens to you. So let's answer the practical question. What are Claude's limits, and are you going to hit them? Notice what this video is not. It is not about whether you should pay for Claude or upgrade to a bigger plan. Those are real questions, but they are their own videos. This one is just the map, where the walls are and how to tell if you are the kind of user who bumps into them. A quick, honest guide, not a comprehensive spec sheet, and trusted resources are linked below. One disclosure up front because it shapes everything. John is a heavy, daily paid Claude user, so the examples here are Claude's, that is, where he can speak from real use. But as you are about to see, the pattern is not Claude's at all. It belongs to every major AI. Here are the two walls. The first is a rolling 5-hour window. Think of it as a sprint limit. From your first message, a 5-hour clock starts, and you have a set amount of use inside it before you are paused until it resets. The second is a weekly cap, the marathon limit, a bigger budget that refills about once a week. Both are always running. And here is the catch. Hitting either one stops you. On that Friday, John hit both at once, which is the worst-case version of this. And if this sounds like a Claude problem, it is not. It is how the whole industry works now. ChatGPT has the same shape, a short rolling window plus a separate weekly cap on its heaviest use. Google's Gemini, as of 2026, switched to almost exactly Claude's model, a roughly 5-hour window that refills, running against a weekly limit. They have all landed in the same place, because running these models is genuinely expensive. The two walls are not Claude's, they are everyone's. So how much sits inside those walls? Let me stamp this with a date, July 2026, because the specifics change often. Check the description for the current figures. On the free plan, you get a modest amount, enough to try Claude and have short conversations, and no access to Claude Code at all. Claude Pro, at $20 a month, gives you a solid stretch of work before you are paused, plus that weekly cap. That is the plan most individuals are on. Above it sit the max plans, at $100 and $200 a month, which Anthropic sizes at roughly 5 times and 20 times Pro's usage. So picture the tiers as the same two walls, just set further and further apart. Now, notice I did not hand you an exact message count for Pro. That is not me dodging, it genuinely depends, and the next part is exactly why.
Here is what you are actually spending, and it surprises people. It is not a simple count of messages. Every time we go back and forth, you spend compute, and longer, more complex chats cost more of it than short ones.
And it all comes out of one bucket. Your chats, Claude Code, and the desktop app all draw from the same limit. So take John, who spends about 85% of his time in Claude Code. That heavy coding use is quietly draining the very same allowance his regular chats need. Burn it in one place, and it is gone in the others.
And I will be honest, when I started, I had no feel for this at all. Tokens in, tokens out, it meant nothing to me, until I watched them vanish way faster than I expected. There is a whole crowd online selling tricks to stretch your usage. What actually helped me was simpler. I started watching the usage meter in my settings, just so I could see the wall coming before I hit it. Early on, I picked up a tip online. Say hello to Claude first thing in the morning, before you even need it, to start your 5-hour clock early. The promise was you would be less likely to hit your limit.
Here is the honest version of that tip. Half of it is true. Your 5-hour window really does start with your first message, so an early hello does move your window and your reset earlier in the day. But it does not give you one bit more capacity. You do not get more by starting sooner, you get the same amount, just on an earlier schedule. So use it to line your reset up with your workday, sure, but not as a way to squeeze out extra because there is no extra. That is the kind of half-truth that spreads fast online, and it is worth getting right.
We look into AI and release new videos each week. Like and subscribe to stay informed.
Now, a real example of the two walls at work, and it is a good one. In May of 2026, Anthropic signed a deal with SpaceX for a huge amount of computing power, and they used it to permanently double the 5-hour session limits for Claude Code. Everyone was thrilled, but they did not double the weekly limit. And you can guess what happened. People could now sprint twice as fast inside each 5-hour window, which meant they burned through their unchanged weekly budget twice as fast and started slamming into the weekly wall instead. It is a perfect little lesson. If you raise one wall and leave the other where it is, you do not remove the wall, you just move it.
So how do I actually live with two walls? A few habits. The big one, I plan around the reset. I front-load my heaviest Claude work and batch it, instead of trickling it out all day long. When I do get capped, I switch over to the non-Claude things on my to-do list, and sometimes I do that on purpose, before I hit the wall, to stretch the window out. And when something absolutely has to ship and I am out of usage, you can buy a little more to get across the line. That one has saved a deadline for me more than once. None of this is fancy. It is just working with the walls instead of being surprised by them. Now the honest part. If you use Claude all day for real work, the way I do, Pro's ceiling can become a wall you hit constantly. For a good while, that was me. But for lighter use, a few questions here, a document there, you may never touch these limits at all, and Pro will feel limitless. It genuinely depends on how hard you lean on it. When it became clear I had outgrown that ceiling, I moved up to a bigger plan, and I honestly have not thought about limits since. But whether that step is worth it for you, that is a real decision with real trade-offs, and it deserves its own video, not a throwaway line at the end of this one. What I want you to walk away with is knowing where your walls are.
So, the two walls. A 5-hour sprint and a weekly marathon, both running at once, on Claude and on every major AI you might use instead. If you are a light user, you will likely never meet them. If you lean on these tools hard, plan around the reset, remember it is all one shared budget, and keep an eye on your usage meter so the wall never surprises you. That is a simple way to understand something that trips a lot of people up. It is not the last word, so trusted resources, including Anthropic's own limit pages and Anthropic Academy, are linked below. Because whatever tool you use, you are going to meet its walls. The skill is just learning to see them coming. Before you go, 2 more worth your time. Earlier this season, we broke down Claude's privacy settings, what happens to your data, and the one switch worth changing. And for the basics of how modern AI actually works, start with our first season, right from the beginning. Both are on screen now.